Joining me now, a man who cuts through lies with painstaking research, the president of the Government Accountability Institute and author of Blood Money, Why the Powerful Turn a Blind Eye While China Kills Americans, Peter Schweizer. Mr. Schweizer, it's always good to see you. As usual, the left is fabricating and using edited clips to attack President Trump. It's easy to see why they're doing it. If they talk about him, they don't have to talk about all the harm that they and theirs are doing to our country, in particular their collusion with China. What's your take on all this?
Yeah, I mean, if you have to twist people's words to try to make your case, it seems as if the underlying case you're trying to make isn't real. So that's kind of a standard ploy. And China, I think, is an example of that. So much of the focus over the last 7 to 8 years has been on Russia as the major threat the United States faces. And I'm not saying Russia is not a threat, but the predominant threat is China. And this is where the Biden administration, has severely underperformed. They've basically given China what they want. And the reason is because of the financial entanglements of the Biden family. So while they focus on Russia collusion, which ended up being imaginary, there is actual real problems with the Biden family's financial ties with China. And it's impacting our policies, whether it is our posture towards China overseas or whether it's the way in which the Biden administration refuses to confront them on fentanyl.
Yeah, sure. And you know what? Russia is dangerous because of its alliance with communist China. They're allied with China against the United States. It makes them very dangerous. Now, while left-wing media is actively targeting the only America First candidate, President Trump, they're covering for Joe Biden's family corruption that you already alluded to. Hunter Biden's public hearing is set for this Wednesday, but the first son is pulling another one of his stunts. He's now refusing to attend, even though this was the one he insisted he wanted a public hearing. He wanted it to take place. Oversight Committee Chair James Comer says the hearing will continue with or without Hunter, adding that the probe is now at the point of a criminal referral. You've written extensively about the Biden's ties to communist China, as laid out in your recent book, Blood Money, Why the Powerful Turn a Blind Eye While China Kills Americans. What fact did you uncover that is sure to shock most Americans, regardless of their party affiliation?
Well, if you look at the fentanyl situation, we're losing 100,000 people a year. It's the leading cause of death for people under the age of 45. This is a Chinese operation more than it is a Mexican drug cartel operation. I lay that out extensively in the book. Here's the simple fact. Joe Biden will not confront China on fentanyl because of financial entanglements. In 2017, his family received a $5 million interest-free loan that they never repaid from a Chinese businessman. That businessman was business partners with the head of a Chinese criminal gang that set up the Sinaloa cartel and the fentanyl trade. And they are the kings of fentanyl. So quite literally, Chris, you have 1 degree of separation financially between the Biden family and the people that are pushing this poison in the United States, killing 100,000 Americans. This is the real consequence of the corruption that you get. People always wonder what policies have taking all this foreign money impacted for Joe Biden. Fentanyl is a clear-cut example of it, and it's leading to American deaths.
112,000 last year alone. There's a bill that's being bandied about right now in the Congress to ban the China spy app TikTok. It's now in the hands of the Senate. There was a discussion about this on CBS this weekend. Listen.
What do you buy precisely? Because the algorithm's not coming with this company. The Chinese government would never let that happen. Because the algorithm will actually, if you could reverse engineer it, prove possibly that there is problems with it or anything else. I don't know if there is. I just know, should there be allowed to have the opportunity.
But, Mr. Schweizer, there are concerns about the bill that's winding its way through Congress. Like the Patriot Act, this bill, depending on who is running Washington, can be used to target Americans and not our communist enemy. And in your past books, you've detailed how members of both political parties are compromised by communist China. Shouldn't Americans be concerned that the first effort that the Congress takes to protect us from the myriad abuses of communist China is an effort to give the U.S. government more power over us?
Well, I happen to believe that even though this bill isn't perfect, I think it's still good. Look, TikTok is not just a Chinese company under CCP control. It is joined at the hip with the Chinese state. As I quote extensively in Blood Money, it's not a question of if TikTok is trying to manipulate young people in the West. They are already doing so, and they talk openly about it. And, the clip you played is quite right. They're probably not going to give up the algorithm because the algorithm's not just a company secret. The Chinese government has designated it as a state secret. So you have to ask yourself why. Why is this app that is feeding our kids this diet of videos considered a state secret by the Chinese government? I think this is a bill that should pass, and I think once we deal with TikTok, then we should start dealing with the abuses of other social media companies, those specifically in the United States. But this bill deals specifically with foreign adversaries who control media in the United States and gives the government the ability to force the sale of those entities. Obviously, any law can be abused. That's always a threat. But I think on balance, this is a good bill that should pass.
Right, and the Senate can actually tweak it and make it so that communist China and thwarting communist China and the metadata that they are gathering using the aforementioned algorithm, that's the primary target and not the American people. Peter Schweizer, always appreciate the visit here. Come back soon, sir.